Hey y'all. One of my followers, I'm not sure what your name is, babe. I'm so sorry. This was months ago, but it never left my mind. I want you to know. And it was probably wasn't even months ago, probably was weeks ago. But it never left my mind because I thought about the fact that I'm currently in a relationship and I have been in foster care. You know, I was in foster care from when I was 13 up until actually, I was involved with Child Protective Care Services when I was really young, when I was around like 6 or 7. And then the case was closed, but then when I was 13, it got reopened, and I was in foster care from 13 to 17, and then I went to college. So it was a situation where, you know, there were a lot of years of my life that I low-key feel like I lost. Like, there's years of my life that I low-key don't even remember. And I feel like that can be a hard thing to not just talk about with your friends or your family if you're even reunited. But it can be really hard to talk about this with a lover, and I'm very thankful that my partner does hold space for me to talk about past trauma. But I feel like even in our relationship, I still don't feel 100% comfortable to really go and talk at length about all of the experiences I had in the foster care system. And I feel like that is a level of healing that I just don't feel like I have access to right now, because I feel like I certainly do need to go to a therapist. I feel like I have anxiety that's like wild. I feel like I have like fight or flight syndrome where like I really don't have what we're not at this point, but I feel like in ways I could have easily diagnosed myself with fight or flight syndrome before, you know, I met my most recent partner. But I feel like even then I still was having conversations with her about perhaps going to a different state or perhaps moving somewhere else and still trying to stay in touch. But I think that that was more my response to someone caring about me, because I feel like going through the foster care system, there were so many people that pretended to care about me. There were so many people who pretended to care about me for money. There were so many people that pretended to care about me for my social worker. And then, you know, as soon as my social worker would leave, it would be a situation where everything that I was saying was happening was continuing to happen. But because I'm the child, because we don't really think about, you know, we think about children's well-being. We don't really think about children having like, you know, a right to say, no, this is not where I prefer to stay. And then also not having any agency because I was a poor black fat child who was displaced, you know, by the state. I feel like because I went through the foster care system, it's really hard for me to believe people care about me and really are there for me. Mainly because I feel like I was tricked so many times. I feel like there were so many instances where I had no choice but to trust someone. Even if I didn't really trust them, I had really no choice but to kind of depend on them for things. And I feel like that unfortunately has played out throughout my life. I can be with someone romantically, but as soon as it starts to look like this person is like, you know, I'm owing this person or this person is doing more for me than I can do for them, it starts to make me feel like I don't want to be in that relationship or be in that situation anymore. But I also feel like it's a situation where, because I've had so many people just not really believe in me or use me for a come up, be it like financial or emotional or physical, let it be any kind of situation where I'm like helping those people, I always in the back of my mind wonder like how quick it is for them to cut me off, because I feel like I only had protection as long as I was pretending to like and appreciate and respect what was happening to me. I feel like as soon as I started to articulate that things weren't good or that things weren't, you know, comfortable, I feel like I really didn't have any options after that, because I feel like folks were just like, she got to get out of my house, or I can't deal with older children, or she got an attitude. And I feel like, not to kind of take away from the fact that I was around abusive ass adults, I feel like also like when you're 13, 14, 15, 16 and folks are passing you around different houses, I feel like you start to feel jaded. And I feel like I experienced a level of just disdain, I think, for adults, because I just saw how like adults didn't really care about me. They were just kept pushing me around, moving me around to different places, and never really loving me or wanting me around. And I feel like because I was robbed of that older person looking out for me kind of vibe, and I really didn't feel like my family gave too much of a fuck, because it's like I'm in this foster care system and seemingly nobody has their shit together enough to like actually house me or my siblings. And then it's a situation where like if you have siblings in that situation, you know, it's much harder to really reconcile what's happening to you, because there's, as I said, there's years of my life that I missed where I did not grow up with my brothers, where we did not grow up even in the same damn state, or we didn't grow up in the same household, or whatever the fuck it was. Like we really lost out on years of like actually like being siblings. And I feel like to this day I do not have a stable relationship with either of my two siblings from my mother. because I feel like we lost those years. Like we lost those years of like being able to like, you know, be outside of like that childish, like, oh, I hate you, oh, you're dumb because you're older than me, or oh, you're playing the video game for too long. Like we only had that for a very short amount of time before we literally were all separated and living in different experiences. I was the one that was in foster care. My two brothers, they both were taken by family members that either didn't fuck with me or family members that were not part of my family. So my younger brother went to go live with his aunt. My brother that's closer to me in age went to go live with my uncle. So in all of that midst, all of that bullshit, I feel like for me, you know, to actually think about what it's like to love someone who's been in foster care, when I think about what it means to care for folks that have been in foster care, I think it means to understand that we have a level of abandonment that was dead ass like created by like our system, but perpetuated by the people that we see every damn day, or the people that we have to have in our lives because we're still in the system in some way, shape, or form. We also have a mistrust, you know, of people, because I feel like we see how people can be greedy. We see how people can really not care for you in situations where it's financially a gain for them to just have you in their presence and not really, you know, care for you, like parent you, like love you and support you. Like those things were very much not happening when I was growing up and I was in the foster care system. And I feel like in ways, like I feel like depending on what age you are, it's a situation where folks feel like they don't have to kind of do anything for you because they feel like you're already like cooked, like you're already a person. And yes, you're 13, but like you're already a person, and like there's no way for them to impact you positively. And I feel like that's really fucked up, because I feel like low key, I feel like when I was in foster care system, those were the times where I really felt like kind of motivated to like show folks like I'm gonna be something, I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna, you know. And I was feeling kind of like, y'all can't hold me down, I'm gonna keep going to school, you know. A lot of things got in the way of me going to school, living in all different places, moving 13 times in like 3 years, like just going to different schools for like weeks at a time, and then going to this other school, like almost losing a year of fucking high school because like one of my foster parents wanted me to transfer to an Ivy League school, but they did not want me long term. So look, I would have lost another year of my life trying to give up another year of my life. When we talk about loving folks who have previously been in the foster care system, when we talk about folks who have previously been abandoned by their parents, but be them biological parents or their caretakers, grandparents, aunts, uncles, whoever was looking out for you, those folks leaving you, and then also being misled by the system and by older folks who seemingly know more than you, because ageism is a double-edged sword, I really truly feel, because I think when you're a kid, you really do think everybody older than you got it together. You really do have a way of looking at things that seems like you're the one that's kind of like doesn't have it together, or you're still young, or you're not big enough to know. And I think it's bigger than being big enough or old enough. I think in ways like just the older folks around me not really assessing, you know, my trauma, you know, folks not really holding me in ways that would make sense for someone who's been shifted in life so many times as a young adult. We have to hold hella space for the fact that these folks 9 times out of 10, you know, either went through some sort of traumatic shit to get into the system and then had to endure trauma throughout the system. Not to mention the fact that after going through so much trauma and after, you know, enduring perhaps not even having a reunification be an option, you're thrust out into the real world, you know? Life after foster care is really, really weird, because I feel like for a couple years I was given a stipend to kind of, you know, pay for my apartment, pay for some food, pay for my toiletries, and I feel like I kind of got used to being a student and living in the city and like not really having to think about all those things. But that was because my entire time through foster care, I was told, you know, if you stay in the system, if you don't, you know, sign out or emancipate yourself and basically be houseless or live on people's couches, you know, you'll be able to get that free ride. So I feel like the lies went deep. Like they fucked up my money for years. And I went to college and then they couldn't even afford to have me graduate. So then it's a situation where I feel like, what was the point of me going to college for all these damn years if y'all didn't have the know-how to keep my money right, to keep my account open? You feel me? Folks who have previously been in foster care systems, those folks need a lot of care, a lot of reassurance, you know? One of the things I know in particular that I need my partner to remind me why they love me, remind me the good things about me, things that are worth keeping around. Because it feels like when you're in foster care, it feels like folks only want you around to get that check. to get that little 800. I need folks to reinforce and validate why the fuck they keep me around, why the fuck they care about me. And I feel like I've always needed that, but I feel like I super need that, especially as an adult now, because I think it's so hard to know people's intentions. I feel like folks don't really tell you. So for me, it just makes me think about all the times that I was displaced. Like, I didn't even know sometimes if I was being moved to another place. I remember one time very vividly being woken up and then having all my shit packed and having someone dead ass tell me that they don't want me here no more, like in reference to my foster care parents. And it was kind of like, damn, that's a lot to drop on somebody when they're like 14, 15 years old. And like now, here I am living somewhere. I have a best friend. I'm going to school. And then it's in a snap, that's not my life no more. So sometimes when I say that I've lost years, I mean, sometimes I don't know when the fuck something happened, because I feel like I had like 4 or 5 months of something, and then it was 3 months of something else, or a month and a half of this, or 2 weeks here. And it was kind of just like really hard for me to keep track. I wasn't even able to like take all of my things. There were so many people who were taking things from me, stealing from me, or just hiding my things, or just feeling like I didn't deserve X, Y, or Z because I was in foster care, or because I was poor, or because I wasn't the real child of whoever was pretending to be my parent that month. So I think we need love. We need so much love, but we also need so much patience, because we don't be believing folks. We don't believe nothing. I don't believe nothing now because I feel like people have lied so much about little shit, about big shit, about important stuff, about my humanity. And so therefore I feel like I'm jaded as fuck still, but I think at least knowing why I'm jaded and knowing where my just knowing where my anxiety comes from and knowing where my abandonment issues come from, like being left by your parents is a very big deal. And I think that when folks assume the position of being your parents and they don't really care about you, you can tell, like fuck, my mom's an addict, but I feel like I could tell that she cared about me somewhat, you know what I mean? But I feel like a bitch that's getting $400, $500, $800 from me per month, that bitch might not give a fuck about me. She might just give a fuck about buying, her other kids some shit, or paying off this house note or whatever. But I feel like in ways, like, it's really hard because capitalism does pervert. So the system is all fucked up, but I just don't know what it looks like to fix it when folks are literally fostering children just to get by. People are fostering children just to, look like they live in lavish, but they don't really give a fuck about the kids. I think it's hard. I don't think it's easy to love anyone who's been in the foster care system. I don't think it's easy to love anyone who has had abandonment from such a young age. But I think it's deeper than something being easy. I think it's about it being necessary. I feel like I need love. I know you need love. The person that asked me this question, their partner needs love. And I feel like whether or not you have the capacity to give it to that person is, I think, largely on how much abandonment issues do you have? How many times have you been left behind? How many times have you been tricked or deceived, or been houseless, or been maybe an addict? Like, I feel like in ways it's really hard to be with someone who has the exact same issues as you, because I feel like you end up carrying double burdens, it feels like. Not to say that two folks who are unfortunate victims of the foster care system can't find love together. I'm just saying that it's a lot harder, to be with someone who has your exact same trauma, because it can seem like double duty to be dealing with. And I think some folks think about that a lot, about finding someone that maybe hasn't been hurt the ways that they've been hurt, maybe hasn't experienced the same shit that they felt, because I feel like it's easier to carry someone when you haven't had to be carried yourself, or you haven't had to carry yourself in that way. I really want to open up more about my past in foster care, because I feel like I have some like interesting stories. I have some funny stories too, low-key, but I feel like it feels good to be able to be honest about what I've gone through, because I think like for so long I was just like feeling like being in the foster care system was just like such a negative thing about my past, and I felt like it said something about me. But now I realize that it's more about the systemic failures, to parents, folks just not having support systems, folks seemingly looking for support systems in the government and in private agencies and that not really being enough either, you know. But I feel like I have a lot of insight on how the systems can be fixed, and I'm just hoping that by spreading this message and by letting folks know that not only do folks with a history of being in foster care need love, like there are folks out there that want to love us, and there are folks out there that are asking how to love us. And I feel like that's so amazing, because I found someone that loves me and someone that wants to heal with me through my trauma in the foster care system. And I could only hope that like other folks who have been traumatized by the system can meet other folks, you know, who have also been through it, and love folks who've been through it, and have community and support with folks that have been through it, because it's so important that we talk about our experiences so that the system can be exposed for what it is. There's too many of us who have had similar experiences in the foster care system that were so fucking negligent and fucking horrific. We need to really share our voices so other folks can know it's not you and it's not your fault. I love y'all.